Hello and welcome back to another 11:11. I'm Tia and today I want to talk about eye contact because I don't think we make enough eye contact with each other as we move through the world. I was thinking about this on my way to work yesterday, and it was one of those mornings, like I'm on my way to rehearsals, but where I'm rehearsing is Canary Wharf, which is really it's a very commercial, I guess. It's very business. It's very business orientated. So lots of people on that rush hour commute, and it's heads down. They're like, heads down, move fast. And I think this is kind of everywhere. People looking at their phones or looking at their feet, not really paying attention to their environment, myself included. And I think that's where so many collisions happen. You kind of, because you kind of can tell like two people are kind of trying to go in opposite directions. And if they would just make eye contact, they would figure it out. But because they're not making eye contact, they're just kind of seeing a general shape in front of them and trying to get through. It keeps going wrong and you have near collisions. And I saw quite a few of these on my way to rehearsals yesterday, and it really got me to thinking about the importance of eye contact and how I started to think how the world, which is so messed up right now, might be a much nicer place. Sounds very hippie, doesn't it? I'm going to just carry on with this thought, though. I'm not going to edit myself. I just felt that the world would be a much nicer place if we could all spend a bit more time looking at each other's eyes, making direct eye contact with one another, holding that eye contact, which I know can be so uncomfortable and so awkward. I find it difficult. Sometimes I'll focus on someone's mouth when they're talking to me instead of their eyes, because I think it's close enough and maybe they can't tell, but actually they can tell. And sometimes they think I'm flirting with them because I'm looking at their mouth. So we have to be careful. And I am aware that it's difficult for people to maintain eye contact, especially if you're neurodivergent. I have some neurodivergence, so it is difficult. And just last night after work, we went for a few drinks and a chat after rehearsals, the cast, and I realised whenever I was talking to the group, that I was kind of looking down. And that's a bit of a trait that I've got in a group situation where there's more than one person to focus on. Instead of trying to make eye contact with each person that I'm speaking to or that is present, I just look down, I look away, and I could really feel myself doing it, and I kind of got a bit frustrated with myself. So today I'm going to try and do better with eye contact. But what it really did is it really got me to thinking about the power of eye contact and what it does. And I mean, to be honest with you, I became a vegan at the beginning of 2024, on the 1st of January of 2024, because I was at home watching a documentary on Netflix. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a twin study, and they gave biologically identical twins different diets. So one kind of followed a plant-based diet, and one followed a very, very healthy omnivore diet. Is that where you eat everything? I think so, the omnivore diet. And they were measured along the way, like brain function, body health, so many different things were measured along the way. And that's the aspect that I thought I was interested in. But peppered along this journey, they also looked at the food industry. And so, you saw chickens and you saw cows and you saw salmon. And each time I looked into one of these animals' eyes, and I wasn't looking directly at the eyes, I'm looking at the eyes through a television screen or a computer screen, as it happened. But each time I made contact with these animals, with their eyes, I knew I wouldn't be able to eat them again. I wouldn't be able to eat them again. I wouldn't be able to eat their eggs again. That was kind of it for me. And that was through eye contact. And I remembered then too, there was a terrified horse that had been sort of abandoned in the middle of London Bridge, which is bizarre. By the way, I'm at London Bridge now, so if you hear any train, well, I'm actually at Tower Bridge, but the trains from London Bridge going in and out of London Bridge are passing on a bridge behind me. So it is double glazed, but you might hear traffic or trains, and that would be why. But yeah, there was this horse that was abandoned at London Bridge. It's one of those horses that I think was like a tourist horse or something. Anyway, it had been abandoned, and it still had like its tools on, like the stuff that it would have been worked on, ridden on. But the owners were nowhere in sight, and this horse was just, London Bridge is busy, right? And this horse is just right in the middle of London, and this junction at London Bridge. And I made eye contact with it as I passed it, and the horse was frightened. This is what the eyes told me. I know we project a lot when we talk about animals, but the eyes of this horse looked frightened. And as I walked closer to it and then walked past it, I could see that it was in a terrible state. It was sweaty, it was dirty, it was bleeding in places. And this horse broke my heart. This happened about 5 years ago, and it still haunts me. I remember standing in the middle of the street just crying at the sight of this horse and the pain that this horse was in. And then I also remembered going and getting my cat, Mr. Moon, when I was still living in Brooklyn in New York. I adopted a cat from an animal rescue. His name was Mr. Moon. That's what I named him anyway. And I remember on the journey back, my friend took me to the animal rescue. My friend drove me back, and she's an amazing friend. This is in fact her apartment. And she had popped out, I think, maybe to go to the pet shop to get some supplies. And so it was just me and this box in the car, and I was like, I'm going to just open the lid a little bit. And I looked inside, and this tiny little kitten with these enormous eyes just looked up at me, and we locked eye contact, and we just kind of gazed at each other with what I'm going to say was like love and wonder, love and curiosity, and trust. That cat looked at me with trust. And we bonded in those few moments of looking into each other's eyes. I'm sure of it. To the extent that fast forward a few years when I had to leave New York and I couldn't afford financially to bring this cat with me, because it was very expensive. It would have cost me somewhere around £2,000, all in all, with the vet things that had to be done and the flight from America to the UK, because the UK has such strict regulations about bringing animals into the country. It just, all in all, it would basically have cost me more money to bring this cat in on a flight where it would have been held with the luggage, but it would have cost the equivalent of premium economy ticket. It would have cost more than my ticket. Anyway, I couldn't afford it at that time, and I had to give the cat away. And when I said goodbye to the cat, I was bawling like a baby. That cat had a little red nose, ear tips weren't all red. He was distressed, he knew. And I bawled and bawled and bawled my eyes out walking away from that cat. And I'm sure that that's because of those few moments of eye contact, that moment in which we bonded, locked in. And there was a study done in November 2023 at McGill University, where they actually looked at people's they tracked people's gaze, and so two partners, when they're talking to each other, they discovered that people only kind of look at each other's face regions for about 12% of the time that they're interacting, which is very, very little. And then more than that, they only exchanged mutual eye gazing for about 3.5% of the time that they were talking and interacting with one another. But here's where it gets interesting. So after a period of mutual eye contact, what they observed during this study was that the partners would have a shared gaze, like they would follow each other's gaze after that moment of eye contact. So it created some kind of social dynamic bonding or agreement where they were like connected for a moment of time afterwards. And I thought that was fascinating, and it just got me to thinking, if we could all make more eye contact in the world, could we make it a more loving place? 1111. Thank you.